Welcome to the Horror Friendly Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Horror Friendly Podcast, part of the You Run Podcast Network. My name is Katie, and I am joined once again by Chantal. Hey, Chantal.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You yeah, ready for this one?
I think so. I'm kind of intimidated. I don't know. I think maybe we just need to get into it and see what happens.
Yeah, I think we chose this one optimistically, and
Yeah.
it's kind of hit how big a film this is and how heavy it's not heavy, but yeah.
Yeah, heavy in some ways.
Yeah, we just yeah, I think we just do it. So we are covering Nosferatu, but the 1922 version, so the original, also known as Nosferatu, a Symphony of Horror. Directed by F.W. Murnau, the silent German film follows Thomas Hutter, who is sent to Transylvania to facilitate the purchase of a house by the mysterious Count Orlok. I feel like there's a lot more to it than that, but all the snippets, obviously, everything is very 2025 Nosferatu or 2024 because it was just at the end. So yeah, everything's like all the snippets are a bit off. So I'm gonna go with that. But what had you seen this one before?
I had not. I
What
have
did you
as
think?
yeah, I mean, as discussed in the last episode, I'd seen the new one.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen this one. I guess I just never kind of thought to. It was never really on my mind as something that I kind of wanted to watch, I guess. But I'm so glad I did, to be honest, because it is so different from anything that we've ever covered before. And I know I've said that on a couple of episodes, but it really is so different.
Oh, it's his own thing, yeah.
Yeah, completely. I mean, what were your thoughts? Had you seen it before? Like before we get into it? Like
No, and
what?
again, I was like, I thought I had, and I don't think that was because like I didn't remember watching it, but I think I just assumed, oh, it's a classic, I would have. But I
Yeah.
think it was like, no, like I'm thinking like Dracula or something. I wasn't thinking Nosferatu. Um, so no, I hadn't seen it before, and I actually was just like, fuck it, I'm not going to look anything up. So I went into this not knowing it was a silent movie either, and I was just there like,
Despite it being made in 1922.
yeah, it didn't register in my head. I was like, when were microphones like a thing? When
Fair.
and it was so funny how like that just didn't even occur to me that obviously it was going to be a silent movie. So I think there was some bits that really pleasantly surprised me. Because like the acting was just like, again, like when we covered Dracula, we kept laughing because we were like, it was so over the top. And I think this one was way less over the top, but was quite well done. There was other bits that was just, again, it was quite over the top for some bits. But it just seemed to depend on the actor. I'm sorry, I'm gonna
Bless you.
feel it coming, and I was like,
God bless you,
thank you.
sister.
I need some blessing. And yeah, there were other bits, and I was like, you could just if it was remade today in the exact same style, there was things that like they could just touch up and improve. But obviously, they've got a whole other direction, and there's voices and everything in the new one. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
oh my god, there's a soundtrack.
What?
Yeah. So
Hmm.
yes, shall we dig a little deeper?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, literally, as you said about the exaggerated performances, I was watching a documentary about it, and they were saying they were at that time very exaggerated, the performances, because they just come out of like the theatre era. So film had only really just been introduced.
Yeah.
So I guess as well, because they wouldn't know any different, but there was no dialogue. Maybe their expressions are what kind of tells the story.
Yeah, and it was yeah, because nowadays like we really compliment like subtle acting. So it is so funny watching like an older film and it's be like you say, like the silence that they're having to oh ha ha ha, I don't believe what the book says. It's so fucking comical. And
Yeah.
then there's like, but then there was other bits like with Count Orlok where there was like just kind of like slowly looking at each other, which was quite creepy. And then there was the bit where like the wife got the flowers, and I didn't realize until they put the dialogue up that she didn't like it. So I was like, I completely misinterpreted that acting. So
It's kind of like a guessing game, isn't it?
it's a little bit, yeah. Like you could take away any of the soundtrack, take away the actual dialogue, and just make up your own story.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be great.
Well, the director kind of did that because obviously this is based on the book Dracula.
Yeah.
Have you read Dracula, Tal? We've had this conversation.
I think we
but
have had this. I've started it. I haven't finished it.
Yeah, cool.
Which I hate because it's so upstairs.
No.
It's all pretty, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know when we covered Dracula before, I know that we had that discussion, but I couldn't remember if you'd read it. But yeah, so there was legal trouble with that. So the director essentially like had to make up his own story to kind of base it loosely on the book.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a bit of legal trouble with the Bram Stoker estate. I think his wife, his widow, was suing the film for copyright. But I think what happened was they managed to they changed obviously Dracula to Nosferatu, like Mina, they obviously called her Ellen. They changed the characters, but obviously kept the plot. So they managed to get away with it. But what happened at the end, I think, is Stoker's widow ordered for all copies of this film to be destroyed.
Wow.
But luckily there was some left, which is obviously why we can watch it today. Which is fucking mad that this film, like, we may not have been one talking about this film, and two, like, think of how this film has influenced so many other horror films. Like, if this film didn't exist, I wonder how many out there would not exist as well.
It's so weird to think of like copyright laws in 1922 because like they couldn't have been that regular. But also, I guess that means they obviously took a book they liked and went, "Oh, we're going to make a film of it," and didn't think twice. Well, actually, yeah, it wasn't their property. And she probably was well in her rights to be like, no, you need to do this correctly. I don't know. That's so funny. Like, not funny, haha, but like,
no, it's mad.
It's just, it's a whole other life. Like this, I mean, we're in 25, so this is 103 years old. So it's just so crazy that obviously it was going to be a silent film. What was I fucking thinking?
Well, yeah, but I guess we're so used to that not being a thing that it's just not in our mindset that it would even.
I just put it on, put the headphones on, and then the media was like, I actually don't need the headphones, but I'm going to keep it because the music's giving a vibe. So
yeah, well, it goes to show how important music is in a film.
Well, how else would I know how to feel in this? Like,
yeah, it's so confusing. Fucking Hutter just laughs at everything.
Yeah, like Hutter was fucking insane. It was just, and then it was the fact that because he fucked up, even though he laughed his way through the book, he then expected his wife to pay attention. I was like, you fucker, like you were warned, you prick. I thought his boss was like going to be way more involved and be like an assistant for Nosferatu or something. It's like
his boss was.
He was, yeah, but like I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but like maybe an earlier reveal because his boss was like sus as fuck from like the first second.
He looked dodgy as fuck from the beginning.
Yeah, so I was expecting like as soon as he left to be like, I don't know, straight for the wife.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, you thought like he would be more of a bad guy in this. Like he would be. Yeah.
Like he was there, but like I was expecting more.
Yes. I wanted more from Knock.
They've really upped his like, look at this very obvious villain. Because that's what they did. They made people look the way you were supposed to perceive them.
Yeah, it's like his big bushy eyebrows and how he was like hunched over. It's like, you're just giving bad guy.
But that's what they used to do.
You look just like him.
Thank you. But that's what they used to do, was make the character ugly if you were supposed to think they were bad.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was not subtle that I was not meant to like this guy. Sus as fuck.
Yeah, very fucking sus. And it's not that different from the remake, to be honest. The remake, the guy looks fucking,
Is he
dodgy?
Sus as fuck?
Yeah.
So as soon as you spot like the ugly character,
yeah, the
one who's had a hunchback shoved on for no apparent reason. It's a hard life. Oh, I made him Irish.
Why not at this point?
Oh, he's definitely not Irish. Just crap. And then obviously the wives were beautiful and all the good people were beautiful. How did she sleep with those fucking curls in? That perfect. Like, fuck off.
Yeah. Fuck that shit. Like, no. I struggle to sleep with my hair up sometimes, like, let alone in like these fucking ringlets.
Yeah. Just struggle to sleep.
That's why I've got one.
Yeah. I don't know. It just made me laugh. I was like, what?
Yeah. That's so true though, isn't it? Like in theatre and in pantomimes and stuff, the bad person is like the ugly sisters. They're always, perceived as ugly. So it's kind of like a theatre, going back to sort of theatre time as well, which is quite cool.
Because that's it, because you have to look at them and predict really quickly. And then it's well, that didn't help with stereotypes, did it? Even nowadays, like people will trust someone who is like better looking. Ted Bundy, like used it to their advantage.
That's true.
It's so fucking...
That's so true.
Yeah. And I'm not saying trust the ugly person because they're obviously safe, because as we know, anyone can be a fucking killer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Just don't trust anyone.
Good God, don't. Never trust anyone.
What has this turned into? Like, don't trust the handsome, don't trust the ugly.
Just trust no one and you'll be fine.
Trust no one.
You'll be kind of lonely, but...
Just should pick one person you met when you were 3 and never trust anyone else.
Exactly. Then you're fine.
This is gone right off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No. What I was actually going to say was it was a bit of a throwback to one of the Fright Fest films that we covered called Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Yes, when they got on the boat, that was the first thing that came into my head. I really liked Last Voyage, so yes, I was well happy to see that.
Yeah. Well, it was called Empula, I think, in this. But obviously it's based on the Demeter. So cool. It was such a a nice kind of throwback there. And I kind of like that scene as well. Like there was a bit of action going on there. The stop motion bit made me laugh when he comes out of the...
Like, again, I know...
And it's made over 100 years ago. What do we fucking expect?
It was made over 100 years ago. And what makes me laugh as well is this was like a proper classic horror film. We're laughing at it. And then it got banned. I think, was it in Sweden? For being like too scary or like too horrific. And we're here just pissing ourselves laughing because we're just dead inside. I mean, I
can, to be fair, with the ship sort of side of things, I can appreciate, because there's a shot of the actual ship going along, and that is a real shot.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. I mean, I think that's... And also, there was absolutely no set on this film. It's all low budget. So these were all real towns, and like the mountains and things were all real. And that's, you kind of wouldn't get that nowadays, because... No,
that's true.
Yeah, I think that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it would be like a set, or it'd be like CGI'd or something, whereas back then... But I love as well, like when you're watching like the horse and carriage and stuff, and then it's just like, oh, we're just going to speed it up. And I was like, that's actually so good for me. I don't need to see the whole journey. I know they got there. Like, it was so fun. I was like, this is actually kind of my vibe, where I'm just like, yeah, great, speed up the horsies. Yeah. Like, and then they put like a red filter on them to show that bad was coming, and I just lost it again. I was like, I know. And the thing is, as well, at the time, that would have been really like advanced. And it'd be like, oh my God, this amazing thing we've done. We've made it look red. And it was just like, we're looking back now, like, what are you doing?
I know, it's crazy. I mean, it's hard to relate to a film like this, obviously. It's so old, but also at the same time, like, it's horror history. It's like cinema history. So it is amazing that we still get a chance to watch it, review it. And then also, I think the whole time when I was thinking like, oh, those bits were a bit like, I kind of thought back to so many films that we've reviewed or that we love wouldn't exist without this film. Like,
no, that's very true.
Half of the vampire films, this kind of started obviously Bram Stoker started it with the book, but like this was the first vampire film. So
no, you are absolutely right. It did kick off a lot, but it also kicked off, and it's like even just horror, like horror and monsters and everything. So as you say, like we wouldn't have half the vampire films. We probably wouldn't have half the films we have.
No,
like. Yeah, no, you are right. They did a fucking good job, even though we're sat here laughing at it. Like, but as you say, it's so hard to review. We almost need someone who's like in their 70s, 90s, and is like, I remember going to see this. Or like, I remember being terrified of this when I first watched it.
But people still be alive?
Yeah. No, like in their 70s, no, in their like 90s, maybe. They'd have watched it when they were like 20.
Yeah, true.
Good point. That's completely wrong.
No, honestly, don't question your maths around me. It'll be a me problem.
Like, yeah, they may not have watched it when it first came out, but they would have seen it like, yeah, it's like us watching an 80s horror.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Let's look at it that way.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, it's hard to relate to it, but also it's good to remember kind of like where it's got us today. But it's such a different film to review. But the horse and carriage bit did make me laugh because it was clearly Count Orlok, obviously in the carriage. He was just like trying to be all like,
So I'm not, but again,
I'm definitely not a vampire.
Didn't they do that in Dracula, like that same gag? It was like,
Yeah,
I say
they did.
gag because we find it funny. But I love even that bit just made me laugh because again, I'm gonna have to read the book and see if that happens. But like Hutter sent a letter back to his wife and chased down the postman, but the guys in the horse and carriage wouldn't go any further. Wouldn't like, no, I'm not going any closer to that castle. But the postie will just fucking pop up.
Postie doesn't give a shit, mate.
Mate, that postie is underpaid. Like,
whatever he's getting paid, pay him double.
At the end of the world, we're all going to be like hiding behind the posties because they're just like fucking, they're actually just carrying like fucking swords in their fucking bags. That's why if there's one left on the tube, they're like, please ring it in, like it's a bag of weapons. Like, it just cracked me up, and I was like, why would the postman be there?
Yeah, good question. The postman doesn't give a shit about Count Orlok.
No.
Count Orlok, sends parcels as well.
Well, Count Orlok wants his Amazon delivery, so he's not gonna eat the postie.
Especially in lockdown, it would have been a nightmare for him.
He's in lockdown every day, Katie.
Yeah, true.
Although saying that, I mean, he does live like on his own because he didn't have any wives.
No, he was after one person in particular.
My favorite line, which I think being shown on the screen did make it funny, which was like, your wife has a beautiful neck. And I just found that hilarious. And like the reaction.
Why don't guys say that more these days, Where's romance gone?
When is it appropriate to say that to someone? Like when you're putting on a necklace? I feel like that's the only
we need to bring it back, Tal. We need to bring it back.
We need to bring back you have a lovely neck. Although if a stranger says that to me, I would punch them.
Yeah. You just need to get your partner on it.
Yeah, like it has to be someone who knows you.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, you have such a lovely neck today. It's glowing. I feel like when you're putting on a necklace is fine.
Yeah.
Outside of that might be questionable.
Might be quite strange, yeah. Yeah, maybe not. But yeah, he was pining for her as soon as he saw her. He wasn't gonna look anywhere else. He is loyal. If anything.
He is loyal. He didn't have 3 other wives waiting around for him at home.
No, he didn't.
Like most Draculas.
I shall find another bride.
What? Do we mean so little to you?
No, he wasn't like, he didn't want to get into a situationship. Like he wanted to go full on.
No, he just wanted these Amazon parcels. And he just wanted his Amazon parcels and, to the love of one woman.
Yeah, who does, that's perfectly normal.
With a beautiful neck.
He's winning all round. We're team Count Orlok.
Imagine him on Tinder.
we fucking talked about Dracula on Tinder as well. This is becoming a fucking
We actually did. I made like a whole Dracula dating profile and everything. I forgot all about that.
Gonna have to do that again, mate.
Right, Nosferatu needs one as well. Looking for a lady with a long neck.
Yeah, a beautiful neck.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are the specifications of a beautiful neck? We've gone way off topic, but what are the specifications of a beautiful neck?
Well, that's up to you to decide how in your Photoshop.
Yeah.
So talking of seeing Count Orlok, what did you think of him when you first saw him?
I actually really liked his look. Although
me too.
I think maybe this is what I thought I'd seen. I knew I'd seen the look before. So I knew what he was going to look like. I did quite like it. And I kind of liked that he looked scary.
Yeah.
Because as soon as Dracula was a film, and then maybe not since then, like there has been on and off. And I think we talked about this when we covered Dracula. But like vampires have been sexy. And like they're creepy fuckers. Like actually think about what vampires are doing. Like, but they say no, they'll live forever and they can make me beautiful forever. So it's obviously sexy.
Yeah.
So I liked the fact that he wasn't, that he was a scary creature, scary monster. Right? I liked that.
That's so true. That's so true. Because I think that's how Bram Stoker originally, I think it was more so Nosferatu look that Bram Stoker was originally going for in the book, rather than kind of what it turned into. Because I suppose when we, you know, the Dracula that we covered with Bela Lugosi, a very handsome man, very dreamy. Like, if you thought of Dracula, you would think of someone like him.
Yeah.
But you're so right. Like, that it's a horror film at the end of the day, and that is so much scarier to me. I think that he's in love with this like beautiful woman, and he looks the way he does. And I don't want to give away, you know, anything for the new film.
Yeah.
But I will say that Robert Eggers did decide to kind of like go with that direction. Obviously, he's remaking
So-
Nosferatu, but it's not a yeah.
So he's a hideous boy again.
I mean, he looks, you know, fucking great.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
But I can't wait for you to watch it because I just want to talk to you about it now.
But it isn't just like Bram Stoker's version of it. Like, obviously you have like Anne Rice with the Interview with Vampire, and it was like they were very like, oh, we're gonna live forever, and because that was always the idea, was to be the best version of yourself, like once you became like eternal life. So there was that there is that like, oh well, obviously vampires are gorgeous because they're the best version of themselves, or at least physically. So I do get it, but a vampire originally was scary.
Yeah.
Like, they could be handsome and scary again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, very like, how many like monsters, or like, you know, I can't even think of words anymore, but how many like villains have we had in horror movies who are good looking people?
Exactly.
Like, just because they're good looking, but also just because he looks like Nosferatu doesn't mean he's safe.
Tells advice.
Tells not trusting anybody.
Yeah.
No, how hot or not you are.
Yeah, doesn't fucking matter. But it's funny because they kind of made him look, they gave him sort of like rat-like features. And rats are obviously like a big kind of thing in this film because obviously they've got plague, and they kind of made him look like that kind of like way as well, which I thought was quite clever that they sort of incorporated, because this kind of hit quite close to home because I think a couple of years before this came out, there was the Spanish flu. So a plague had hit Germany quite hard a couple of years before. So they kind of combined the supernatural fear of Count Orlok with real life events that happened recently. So that kind of makes it scarier in a way.
Yeah, because the influenza pandemic was 1918 to 1919.
Right. Okay. So really fucking soon.
Because again, when COVID hit, everyone was like, it's every 100 years. There's like a big one.
Shit.
And we're also now in the 20s where we're in like a financial crisis.
Yeah.
And there's walls building. So yay. Just in case anyone wasn't scared enough.
Yeah. Do you want to be more depressed?
Yeah. Hi. Sorry, I'm in a weird mood tonight. I'm just bringing the mood way down. But on the look of Nosferatu again. So I'm getting this from Rachel's feature presentations, blogspot.com, where she was talking, or they were talking about how the villain was portrayed. So according to one source, Max Schreck, the actor who played Nosferatu had an innate, gaunt, and emaciated frame. He was suitably hungry and predatory appearance that one might expect for a vampire. So obviously that helped was like, so basically what they're saying is like the actor already kind of looked a bit creepy, but in a way of like looking gaunt and hungry, which kind of works. Was one, so while Growl was the one to dream up the elongated fingers, popping eyes, back in the day, most silent film actors had to apply their own makeup. It is possible that Shrek himself placed his own bald cap, applied putty around the nose, added ear extensions of fangs, used spirit gum to incorporate tufts of hair around gangly eyebrows, and utilized grease paint to give himself a deathly pale sheen.
Wow.
So yeah, there was a lot going on, but I don't think it was like overkill. I think it was done enough, and again practically, because in 1922 it would have been practical, but I think it was done in the right way that he still looks creepy. And it probably helps as well with black and white films and very early films, like you couldn't really pick up finer details. So if there was like a smudge on his face, you probably weren't going to see it. If the makeup wasn't blended, you probably weren't going to see it. So I do think that helps make him just look creepy.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah, he looks scary as well. And the fact that he's called Max Shrek is not lost on me because that's fucking hilarious. Um,
Gotta be done.
yeah. But yeah, you're like, that's such an interesting point that they would have just applied the makeup themselves and they probably would have just thought, does this look scary? Does this work? And now it's one of the most iconic looks in horror history. Like,
Yeah.
that's fucking crazy that it just stemmed from that.
I like the idea though of actors kind of doing their own makeup because I think there is
Yeah.
that whole like actors understanding the character. So things like, oh, well, like dark, shadowy eyes or like long fingers because of the rats. And it's not to say like SFX artists don't appreciate that, but I just like the idea that like it helps actors get into that mindset as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess like as we go back to COVID, like actors and like in TV programs and stuff did have to do their own makeup for a bit, or like TV presenters did.
Or they were
So
like doing it literally on Zoom and stuff. So they were doing it
Yeah.
from home and it was like, can I get some tips?
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, I thought he looked great as well. I was actually quite shocked at how effective like he was. Like there were some really cool shots of him, I thought. Like when they're on the ship and he like slowly comes up. That's such an iconic scene. And I think like we both must have seen that at some point in our lives. But it was really cool like watching it in context of the rest of the film.
I was thinking that, like, yeah, you saw the occasional like shot and you're like, I've seen that still.
Yeah.
Like I've definitely seen that.
Yeah, like the shadow as he's walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that in like top 100 scariest films or something on TV. But again, that's such an iconic shot, and that is something that Eggers did take into the new film as well. So you can tell like Eggers did really respect, I think, what this film did. I think he did kind of. It's very different, but in some ways he did also like put a few bits in there. So when you do watch it, I think you will pick up a few things that maybe you've seen in this one. So so cool. The bit that actually creeped me out a lot is when Count Orlok is in Ellen's room and he's biting her because everything is dark and then you just kind of see his like face. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't really else to add to that. It is just creepy.
Yeah, it was just a really cool shot and genuinely creepy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't expect to be creeped out really with any of this like film at all. I guess I was a bit like Billy Big Bollocks. I just thought, don't know. But watching it, I was like, not only is this fucking iconic, but also there are some decent scary shots in this.
I think, yeah, no, you're right. That bit was really creepy. But like, yeah, I suppose, but then it all sort of comes to like the conclusion. So I was gonna say, like, did you like the conclusion? Did you like that there was like, oh, there's an answer and we can kind of like just present the answer and fix everything?
I mean, to be fair, I thought it was kind of bleak that she died. I mean, that's kind of a bold choice. I mean, I haven't read the book. I presume that happens in the book. But like, yeah, that was kind of crazy to put it on screen.
Because what was the wording? It was like someone with pure intentions.
Virgin.
I'm just trying to find the wording just because when I remember when I heard it, I was like, well, that's rather if you hear that and you think, oh, that's me, that's quite egotistical to be like, oh, me. Like I can't remember what it was though.
Me? Am I the drama?
But it was like quite a compliment. So I was like, oh, obviously I fit in. And I was like,
well, I guess it's gonna have to be me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm the perfect one. I can't remember what it said though, which is what's making me.
Let me see if I can find it too. Who gets there first?
Yeah. Oh, a sinless woman can sacrifice herself to kill the vampire.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So maybe that was, for some reason in my head, it wasn't sinless. It was like something else. But I was like perfect woman, and I was like, it's a bit arrogant to be like, oh, I'll do it. I volunteer.
Oh well, I suppose it has to be me, doesn't it?
Yeah. Even sinless or like as a self-sacrifice. I suppose like sinless. It's like, well, what do you count as sin? And in 1922, I feel like there was a lot more sins that was slightly easier to commit.
Yeah, well, Ellen's just obviously like, oh, well, I'll volunteer, guys. Don't worry about it.
I have never once shown off my ankles. I will do this.
I'll do this, I promise.
Yeah,
God.
so it just cracked me up. But maybe for the wrong reason, because I've just read it and I'm like, actually, maybe she wasn't as big-headed as I remembered myself.
Yeah, but did I like the ending? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of where I suppose the whole sunlight thing started with vampires. I thought it was good. I mean, it kind of rounded off everything. I'm not sure how else it could have ended, to be honest.
No.
What did you think?
I think you're right, but I think again, like normally it's either like a really big fight scene to kill the vampires, and like kill the nest, or it's, you know, they get a new wife, they get a new captor, everyone they go on and live, and everyone else can fuck off. So I just thought it was interesting that actually, yeah, he was going to get brought down. Because I think it was right, like you say, like he couldn't kind of carry on living because everyone was now aware of him and scared of him, and he was going to be the neighbor. So he did kind of, but again, it was also interesting in 1922 to have a female sacrifice herself.
Yeah, that is interesting. That doesn't feel very 1922.
No, like to have a heroine, and I was like, badass, let's do this.
Yeah, like the woman that saves the day, essentially.
Yeah, not quite a final girl because she doesn't live,
Right.
but close enough. Like final girl's grandma.
Great. Yeah, that was nice. That was cool, actually. Very, very sort of ahead of its time in that way.
Yeah. So I did quite like that. And I was like, but yeah, it was, I mean, again, like the fade away was just a bit very 1922.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah.
So 1920s.
I mean, now it would be like, you know, fucking stake through the heart.
It'd be very dramatic.
Yeah, think of Lost Boys. Exactly. Like the mullets flying everywhere.
Even Dracula, we were like,
even Dracula.
We were a bit disappointed in the end because it was off screen. This one was on screen, it was just lower quality.
Yeah.
But although one bit actually that really cracked me up, sorry, I'm about to my place, was when the boat landed, but then they had to like take the coffins to the house, and there was just one guy like carrying the coffin.
Yeah, that was Count Orlok.
Broad daylight. And I was like, don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Had me. I was gone. I was like, maybe it was meant
to be suspicious.
Maybe it was meant to be the middle of the night, but like they couldn't film at night because of the lighting. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was Count Orlok just walking around
in the middle of the day with his coffin, and I was like, "This is the fun." I burst out laughing, and I was like, "This is a silent film, and I'm making more noise in the film." Like,
yeah, that bit is fucking iconic. Just walking around this town. I wonder what all these extras and like people that just live there were thinking.
Hopefully they filmed it in like the beginning of October, so they just assumed everyone was getting ready.
Maybe.
It just had me. I was like, I am done. That's too funny.
That was true.
This isn't a horror. This is a comedy.
It must be so inconvenient for him to like have to walk.
Just imagine having to carry your bed every time you went away.
I know, right?
Like not sleeping bag, like your full-on bed has to come with you. And you have to carry it under one arm like a badass. It's just too funny. Like it really got me.
Good. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
This is a comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the original first horror comedy. It's too good.
Too good.
Do you have more facts for us?
Not really. I mean, the only other things I sort of have were I was sort of going back to the 2025 version. I was watching a couple of interviews with Robert Eggers and Bill Skarsgård, who plays Count Orlok. And Bill Skarsgård was kind of saying like how he like trained to like for Count Orlok's voice and stuff, and like he trained with an opera singer, and he was kind of saying how he thought Count Orlok is like the pinnacle of horror characters. So clearly like it's such an iconic character from so many years, and he's kind of really, it feels like he's really tried to respect that as well, which I think is really cool. And then Eggers also said he's not sure whether Bram Stoker would have liked his version of Nosferatu, but he said like F.R. Murnau has kind of created a history of adaptations throughout cinema. So as we were saying earlier, like this film essentially kind of started all the other vampire films. So it's quite nice that like Eggers and Skarsgård have kind of acknowledged that and respect that in their film as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really nice. But yeah, in terms of the film, no, I mean I picked up that Nosferatu, where that came from, was it's no one really knows. Like some people say apparently it's Romanian for vampire.
That's what I'd heard.
Yeah, apparently it's been quoted in a couple of essays after Bram Stoker's book came out.
Right.
And apparently F.R. Manel just took it from there and was like, let's name it Nosferatu. And that's kind of how it started. But you know the vampire as Dracula. That's kind of, I feel like, certainly me anyway. I would never really say Nosferatu. I would always say if I'm talking about the specific film, I would, but if I'm talking about vampires, I would say Dracula way
Say
more.
Dracula. Yeah, Nosferatu is not one that. Although I would be interested now if Nosferatu gets used more.
Yeah.
Now that there's a new one, because like I was thinking, I was like, oh, I feel like in a pub and they're like, oh, name a famous vampire. You're gonna hit Dracula before you hit Nosferatu. Until this year, I'd be very curious if this year that changes a bit.
That's true.
But we shall see.
Another thing I'm wondering that might change, maybe, is if you're in the UK on YouTube, I can't speak for anywhere else, but in the UK, this film is free to watch. There's like 2 or 3 versions of it on YouTube, free to watch. So when do you ever get free horror? Like, take advantage of it if you've not seen it and watch it, I would say.
Especially a full-length classic. Like
Yeah. But I just wonder, like you say, Tel, with the film that's come out this year, I wonder if that might be taken down and they might want people to buy or like rent the original. I wonder how long, the original Nosferatu will be up for. But maybe that's me overthinking it, but
maybe. But the thing is, we've known that the new Nosferatu has been coming for a while.
Yeah. So
I feel like if they were going to try and monetize off the old one, they really missed a window to take it down.
Yeah, true. But it's funny.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say, I wonder if there's like a copyright thing because it's so old.
Maybe. And as we say, there's not that many copies left out there. So yeah. Crazy. But yeah. So no, only a few other bits really. But again, like I think it's really cool how there aren't that many copies left out there and we've kind of had the opportunity to cover it and watch it. So I think that's really awesome. Imagine and as we say, imagine if it didn't, that we weren't able to see it. Imagine how different horror would be now. So yeah,
all those vampires we wouldn't have.
Exactly, we wouldn't have Lost Boys, mate.
We wouldn't have Lost Boys.
My heart.
I think again, I should have looked into it, but I would like to know if this was the first vampires, because I'm gonna do a quick search again.
I want to say it was, because it was based loosely, based on on Dracula. So I would presume so.
Because Dracula came out. It was originally published in 1897.
Yeah, I think it was about 25 years after the film came.
Yeah. That's not well. I was because the only other early film book I can think of was, as I already said, Anne Rice, Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
But that was originally published in 1976. What did I just say for Dracula?
18.
Oh, 18. Oh, yeah, 100 years earlier. My brain only held on to the last 2 numbers. So that didn't come out for years later. So
interesting.
I do think he was the first to kind of think about vampires. But
and no wonder everyone kind of bases it on this now, with the sunlight thing and the way he looks, the long fingernails, it all stems from this fucking film. And I just think that's amazing. And you can watch it for free on YouTube, a golden piece of cinematic horror history. I just think it's awesome. So we can laugh at it, and of course we can't relate to it, but I don't know, without sounding cringe, I think it's a really amazing thing that we have access to still watch it.
Yeah, no, it is. I did just I typed in the first vampire, and it came up with there is no real first vampire because vampires are mythical creatures. And then it started naming people. So there was a João Grando, a stonemaster from Istria, Croatia, who lived from 1578 to 1657. He's the earliest recorded vampire in Europe with a name and surname. So
Okay.
don't tell me there were no fucking vampires and then tell me a name of a vampire. Like, fuck you, Google. But then I asked about first fictional vampires, and there was actually a poem from 1801 called Falaba the Destroyer.
Okay, cool.
And then there was a romantic gothic genre short story called The Vampire in 1819.
Did you say it was a poem, Tal?
So one was a poem, which was in 1801, and then there was a gothic short story called The Vampire with a Y.
Cool. Can you find the poem?
I will try. I'm not going to read it out.
Why?
I can barely read and write. So
Aww.
come on, give me the. I always love as well, actually. Sorry, again, off topic, but I always love that whenever it is to do with vampires, it's always considered like. I know I literally said don't trust handsome or ugly people, and it was nice to see Nosferatu not like this sex symbol, but they are typically thrown in with like romantic gothic genre. Like it is kind of, they do kind of fall into that quite a lot. Maybe is that like eternal idea?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's kind of thrown in all together, isn't it? It's like kind of associated. You never know.
Okay, if I find the poem, I'll read it for us at the end. But
okay,
do you think you would survive?
One thing I will also say, I'm so sorry. No, I am nearly ready. There's one thing, one shout out is there's a film that came out in 2000 called Shadow of the Vampire, which I really want to watch. It stars John Malkovich and Willem Dafoe, and it's about them making the film Nosferatu. But it's actually about, apparently the guy that plays Nosferatu is an actual vampire. And it's meant to be amazing. I've heard amazing things about it. My brother told me about it last week, and I really want to watch it. So if anyone has watched it out there, please let us know how it is, because Tao, I think that could be one for us to watch.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Anyway, would I survive? Kind of, yeah. If he's going to be busy, you know, carrying his coffin around, he's not going to see me running away, is he? So I'm fucking on that. I'm on fucking the Demeter, and I'm off. So yeah, he's going to be busy lumping that around everywhere.
Fair.
You?
I was going to say no. Sorry, I was going to say yes, because I'm not a sinless woman, so I can't be the sacrifice. I don't think he'd like my blood very much, and I don't have the loveliest neck. Like, I have a nice neck, but there's lovelier.
Yes. Okay. Right. I'm not a sinless woman. Straight to the point.
I'm literally wearing a jumper that says I like horror movies and pole dancing. So I think we all know where my priorities are.
So I'm thinking no. Okay.
Something in my blood is too rotten for Nosferatu.
Well, for both very different reasons, we would both survive.
Yeah. You're hiding. I'm going to be in plain sight. Like, bring it on. Drink me, big boy. Like, you won't like this flavor.
Yeah, you won't like it. Give it a taste.
Give it a taste if you dare. I think he'd kill me just for being irritating.
Yeah.
And what are you going to give this? Oh, sorry. What's your favorite spooky moment? And what are you going to give this spookies out of 5?
So my favorite spooky moment will be, I think, when he's chowing down on Ellen. Yeah, delicious. She's she's the virgin with the lovely neck. I just think it's really a really cool scene, and genuinely quite creepy as well.
I'd love to. That's going to be on his Tinder profile, looking for a virgin with a lovely neck.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5 spookies. I wouldn't rush back to it. I kind of struggled with it a little bit, just kind of with the whole silent thing. I'm not used to it, so it was quite difficult for me to sort of stay engaged with it. But I'm giving it a high score because there were some genuinely creepy scenes, and because of everything that we've just chatted about how iconic it is. So yeah, what about you?
I think I didn't think. I think my favorite scene is going to probably be when he sees the photo and he's like, "What a lovely neck," because I think that was a moment where even Hutter was like, "Something's wrong with this guy." Like he'd been lying to himself that whole time, and all of a sudden he was like, "Dude wants my lady's neck." Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time we kind of saw Nosferatu not as the whole Dracula thing where he's a perfect host and we saw him break that. So I thought that was quite funny. Also, again, watching that with modern eyes, you're like, he's gonna suck her in there, like you know what he's gonna do. Like, there's
Is
no,
that what you did?
yeah. There's no like mystery. Like we know the story of vampires. Like I can imagine in 1922, everyone was like, why is he mentioning the neck? Now we're like, yeah.
Yeah, we know. Put that stake through his heart.
Literally, like immediately we're like, get the stake now. And I think I'm gonna give it probably 3 out of 5. I think I was gonna go lower because again, similar to you, it's a film. I really appreciate what it's done for horror, which is why it's gone slightly up. But I really did struggle with it because not really struggled. As I said, they kept speeding up the horses, which I was very grateful for. But it's a very original film. It's hard for us now to appreciate how good it is.
100%.
Because we have a very modern lens that we're looking back on. So I think, that's not fair on the film. But I do think, yeah, if you speak to the right person who remembered seeing this as a teenager, they'd probably be like, it was hella scary.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. And it's kind of like even like 80s slashers and things that we kind of just think are fun now. I'm sure in the cinema they were terrifying. So it kind of all applies down, later down the line. So
yeah, what we're watching today that in like 20 years, everyone's gonna be like, it's so funny. Like, and we're gonna be like, fuck you, it was scary at the time.
Fuck you. Yeah. Then we're going to be defending it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be really hard to be like, look, it was really scary, okay? Nobody saw those jump scares coming. Like, I wonder, let's do a poll on that and be like, what's the equivalent? What are people gonna be watching in the future and be like, it's not that scary? And we're gonna be really upset.
Yeah, right. Get your votes in, guys.
Yeah, let's do it. Amazing. Well, that was our Nosferatu episode. Join us again next week for one final episode of season 9. I wonder what it'll be. Follow us on socials to find out. Until then, check out our previous episodes. I was gonna say check out future ones. You can't do that unless you're really fucking good. But yeah, I'm gonna shut up because I'm tired. Bye.
Bye-bye. I want to suck your blood.
What a lovely neck you have.
Except he doesn't fucking talk.
I mean, he tried. He doesn't need to.
He tried.
He's magic. He's not magic. What is he?
He's whatever.
He's whatever. He's motherfucking Dracula. I have found this poem and I've come back on my promise to read it out because I scrolled for like 30 seconds. This thing is so long.
Okay.
I am trying to see like where it says vampire and maybe I'll just read that bit.
Can you sing it?
No, because it's a poem. This is not she, the old man exclaimed. A fiend, a manifest. Oh my God. Please bear in mind, I have not read this before. This is not she, the old man exclaimed, a fiend, a manifest fiend. And to the youth he held his lance, strike and deliver thyself. Strike her, cried Thalabar, I don't know how to say his name, and Palseed of all powers, gazed fixedly upon the dreadful form. Yea, strike her, cried a voice whose tones flowed with such sudden healing through his soul, as when the desert shower from death delivered him. As when the desert shower from death delivered him. But unobedient to that well-known voice, his eye was seeking it. When Moeth, firm of heart, performed the bidding through the vampire corpse, he thrust his lance, it fell, and howling with the wound, its demon tenant fled. A sapphire light fell on them, and garmented with glory in their sight, Onisa's spirit stood. And that's just one verse. This thing's like 30 verses long.
I'm just laughing at how underwhelmed you looked.
I was really struggling to say words like manifest fiend, and then suddenly they throw a name in there like Anisia, and I was like, no.
You smashed it.
I actually really struggle with reading out loud, so thank you for putting me on the spot.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're not.
I love you.
Oh dear. Right. Well, yes.
On that lovely note. Da-da!